Alright. Well, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Nerbomatic, and today we're going to start our Resident Evil 2 Remake playthrough series. Okay, technically, this video is the precursor to the series, and for that reason, I'm calling this episode 0 for our playthrough. The purpose of this video is just to establish some expectations for the series. Because of this, there won't be any actual active gameplay in this particular video, but I will include some previously recorded footage from earlier test recordings and such. Anyhow, what you can expect to learn from this video is how I plan to play through the game for this series, and a couple of other points about me or the series that I think are important enough that I should mention them ahead of time. So without further ado, let's go over those things. First, although I became very familiar with the original Resident Evil 2 way back in the day, I'm still somewhat new-ish to the Resident Evil 2 Remake. I didn't pick the game up until July of last year, and I didn't go super hard into the game then, and although I do enjoy the game, I haven't played it to any terribly meaningful degree since. I have completed some parts of the game, but there are other parts I've never seen or experienced. I'm bringing this up because over the course of this playthrough, you will probably notice that in some parts of the game, I will probably skip past some areas, enemies, or items where I'm either familiar with that section of the game or if it just seems sensible to do so. At other times, it might take me an unusually long amount of time to work through areas or enemies or try to locate relevant items. As a side note, I do plan to edit out footage where I take an excessive amount of time trying to solve a puzzle or some other such occurrence. Because of my mixed familiarity with the game, you can expect to see mixed consistency in my ability to approach the game's challenges. I suppose this probably sounds like stuff that should be fairly obvious, but I wanted to make it clear in case you find yourself wondering why I'm able to breeze through some parts of the game but then struggle with other parts. If so, you'll understand that that's just a product of my mixed level of experience with the game in general. Second, and somewhat relatedly, although I have completed parts of the game before, I'm planning to initially allow each of the cinematic scenes to play out, as well as read all or most of the readable material that we come across in our initial runs. During subsequent runs, of course, we'll likely skip over some, most, or all of the content that we've already seen or read previously. Third, my intended progression path is as follows. Standard difficulty, Leon A to Claire B to Claire A to Leon B. Or if you prefer, Leon first to Claire second to Claire first to Leon second. I just went with A and B because that's how it was back in the day. Anyway, that's the amount of content I intend to absolutely complete in this series. Afterwards, depending on how I'm feeling with the game, we may decide to move on to the game's greater challenges, in example hardcore difficulty, and potentially S and or S plus rankings. If, however, for whatever reason the game isn't really holding my interest, we might then perhaps move on to a different game series. And of course, there's always the possibility that we could come back and do more with this later. But if or when that comes to be the case, we'll evaluate some options for the future. Some things that come to mind are Resident Evil 3 Remake, of course, a proper Ghost Recon Wildlands YouTube playthrough for the much superior video quality, some Arma 3 content, which has a tremendous amount of potential, maybe some Fallout New Vegas, though I've heard that running it can be problematic without doing so with some certain mods. Or perhaps, rather, some of the Outer Worlds for something a bit newer. Maybe some Mass Effect 2007, because I don't own the Legendary Edition and I don't have any reason to buy it. And there's a wide range of more recent CRPGs that I have as well. Now, I do prefer tactical military shooter type content, but I certainly enjoy various fantasy or sci-fi oriented games as well. That's just to give you some idea of directions that I might go, but that should all be a ways off from now. Anyway, my apologies for that tangent. Let's get back to the series at hand and what's probably my last considerable point of discussion. So fourth, while playing through this game, or any other game for that matter, I will often poke fun at things I see or hear that, to me, comes off as silly or ridiculous, whether the game has a focus towards realism or not. I know that there are parts of this game where I might comment on something that, for whatever reason, evokes my criticism. As an example, early in the game, Claire or Leon tells Lieutenant Marvin Brannock that they need to get him to a hospital,
We should probably get
despite the fact that it's completely unlikely that any hospital is operational, let alone accessible. You can't even safely move around the police station, and you're not even sure that you can get out of the police station. On occasions like that, you can expect that I'll probably express some sort of criticism in the moment, and that's just something that I want you to be aware of. I bring this up because I want to make it clear that I don't express these criticisms out of anger, hatred, or malice for this or any other game, or even any other piece of media. It's just me pointing out something that, in my mind, is completely illogical, absurd, ridiculous, or downright contrived. Conversely, other times I might not bother to point such things out. It isn't my intention to consistently criticize every aspect of the game every step of the way either. As before, with regards to my inconsistent amount of experience with the game, you shouldn't expect a consistent degree or frequency of criticism either. This isn't intended to be a critical in-depth analysis, it's just me occasionally expressing, or not, various criticisms along the way. Just part of my personality. By the way, please do feel free to express any criticism that you might have along the way as well, whether of the game, or of myself, and or my content. I'll gladly take all criticism into account when it comes to my content, and I'm always pleased to know if somebody else feels the same way that I do about any particular thing. And although it might be a bit less pleasant, I normally find it at least interesting to hear from someone who does not feel the same way that I do. Anyway, those are the things that I wanted you to be aware of while going into this series. And this is pretty much where we're going to wrap things up for now. So if you're a current subscriber and you've been waiting for some content, I know it's been a while, I hope that you're looking forward to seeing some Resident Evil 2 Remake gameplay. There will certainly be more to follow, though what exactly and when is yet to be determined, and we'll look at those options further down the road. If you're new here, I hope that I've caught enough of your interest that you'll consider coming back to share in my experience, whether with this particular game or perhaps something else that we cover later on. I know that this game's been around for a few years now, but for me there's still a lot of unexplored content here, and the original games were a very big deal for me back in the days, so this is something that I've been wanting to cover for quite some time now. Well, that's about all there is to say. I'm really happy to finally be jumping into this, and I hope to see you all in the upcoming videos, which should start becoming available very soon. Until the next time, I wish you all health, happiness, and good gaming. Or good whatever other sort of activities you like to spend your time doing. I hope it's all good, and I hope it all goes well. In the meantime, take care. Alright, y'all. Bye!
A bizarre incident occurred in the outskirts of an American suburb called Raccoon City. It was later revealed that the terrible disaster had been caused by the T virus, a mutagenic toxin created by the international enterprise Umbrella Incorporated for use in bioweapon experiments. The Raccoon City Police Department's Special Stars Unit immediately began investigation in the affair. The case was apparently closed, thanks to the efforts of STARS members Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. But the Umbrella Corporation's experiments were far from finished.